The internet just went into a bit of a meltdown over the recently released images of the logo for the United States Space Force. The distinctive badge had echoes of the famous design created for Starfleet in the long-running Star Trek franchise. What many may be unaware of is that the logo may be much older and part of a program that some claim has been running since before the Trek universe even appeared on TV back in September of 1966. Let's take a look at the secret space fleet that is known as Solar Warden. Welcome to IF, videos on history, mystery, and the strange. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a video again. When you Google Solar Warden, the most common search result is for a computer game, a space-based shooter in which you command a fleet of space vessels and defend the Earth from the invading Silicoid race. This game may seem to be a generic turn-based strategy game, something born of the imaginings of a programmer in a studio of Silicon Valley, but it may actually be real. This secret space force, like the game, is said to be our defense from evil forces found in the deepest, darkest depths of the universe. Extraterrestrial races that wish to conquer and enslave our planet. This space armada is claimed to be named Solar Warden, just like the game, and it has a history that dates back to the beginnings of the space race. The development of the technology that was said to have been deployed in the 1980s has been piggybacking on the research and development that has been part of the public realm since the race to the moon. Back when Michael Jackson was moonwalking here on Earth, it is said military men were walking on the moon for real. A series of secret government programs were in full swing, the building of bases on the moon, trips to Mars, and the many claimed interactions with visitors from other planets. These visitors, it is claimed, came from many different worlds, some as friends, others as foes. This is when the DoD, the Department of Defense, knew that they needed a new branch that would be a space-based equivalent to the Navy. The mission, like so many sci-fi shows, to protect the planet. This may sound like the ramblings of a man way too into his space-based fantasy, but there is some proof. One researcher says that he made a request for information on the secret space program using the FOI, the Freedom of Information Act, and to his shock, he received a reply. This reply said that they had contacted NASA and a program of that name did once exist, but that it had been terminated by the president. They also gave the extra information that it was not a joint program with the DoD, but was controlled by the US government and was also part of the United Nations. Concluding what can only be classified as confirmation, the FOI employee directed all further inquiries to Johnson Space Center, FOIA manager. Another source of information on this space fleet comes in the form of British hacker Gary McKinnon. The man was at the center of a long-running legal case that saw the United States wanting to have the man stand trial in the country, but the British government refused to extradite Gary to face what could potentially result in him serving a life sentence. So what did the British hacker uncover about the secret space program to make him such a target of the American government? Well, Gary McKinnon claims to have uncovered information and proof of the US Navy's intergalactic operations. He told that he accidentally came across data on a top secret fleet of 8 to 10 warships in space. These vessels maintained a watchful orbit over our planet and had 25 non-terrestrial officers as part of the crew. He also revealed that this space force was technology that had been taken or gifted by extraterrestrial races. This technology was so advanced that it could solve many of the world's problems. He claimed that he had found details of an energy capable of stopping the global warming process, anti-gravity devices, and more, all of which were being utilized by the fleet, enabling them to travel the massive distances needed to effectively monitor space. The vehicles that the Solar Warden used were of a cigar-shaped design, this shape fitting with the many reports of UFOs. It could be a possibility that people seeing these vessels taking off or landing jumped to the assumption that they were alien when in fact they were of human origin. The largest of these vessels, this is back in the 80s, they may well be bigger today, was said to be longer than the length of 2 football pitches end to end. The 8 large craft of the fleet were accompanied by 43 smaller scout-like craft. These are what people are most likely mistaking for alien craft in UFO reports. These craft are operated and maintained by a rotating roster of crew of some 300. We can't say people, as ETs are said to make up some of this personnel. Some of the US ships are named USSS LeMay or USSS Hillenkoetter USSS, coming from the United States spaceship, the US Space Shuttle. So you may be asking yourself, how is all of this funded? McKinnon says that it is a cooperative project between Canada, the United Kingdom, Italy, Austria, Russia, Australia, and the United States. All of these countries have seen ballooning black budgets over the past 2 decades, and this could be an answer as to where all that money is going. But what other proof is there? The head of the free world in the 80s was President Ronald Reagan, and his thoughts were recorded in a bunch of papers which were released in April of 2009. The over 250,000 pages of documents from the National Archives showed that the president wrote on June 11, 1985 about the existence of a classified space program that can transport and accommodate hundreds of astronauts. His diary highlights that he has received several sessions of information on the subject. There have also been claims that these vessels were captured on camera and even shown on national television. The show Weird or What, which ran from 2010 to 2012 and had yet another Star Trek connection as it was hosted by the great William Shatner, showed a strange object moving toward the sun. The video that was shown came from NASA and showed a strange Earth-sized object moving near the sun, clearly realizing on certain angles of motion that indicated it was piloted or controlled by an intelligent being. Astrophysicist Nassim Haramein spoke about what was shown. He referenced the spacecraft, saying that they could well be huge intergalactic extraterrestrial ships that use our sun as well, a stargate that can then allow them to travel anywhere in the universe. The information from this time period, which was uncovered by McKinnon, has the support of Dr. Richard Boylan. Dr. Boylan is an avid UFO researcher who rose to fame in the 1990s. He has spoken at MIT on the subject of alien abduction, and he believes that since the 1980s, America and allied countries have deployed the secret space fleet called Solar Warden. This was what was uncovered by British hacker Gary McKinnon. The doctor goes on to say that he thinks that the Solar Warden is controlled and ran by the US Naval Network and Space Operations Command, NNSOC, which is based in Dahlgren, Virginia. This does link nicely to the United States Space Command, USS Spacecom, which was originally created in September of 1985 to coordinate the use of outer space by United States Armed Forces. This then leading into the United States Space Force, a newly proposed military branch that President Donald Trump announced during a meeting of the National Space Council on June 18, 2018. This creating the 6th Armed Forces branch, joining the Navy, Army, Marine Corps, Air Force, and Coast Guard. Some say that this is more of a public admission to the existence of a program that has been in operation for decades, rather than the creation of something new. So this leads us to the question, why now? Is there something heading our way that will make keeping this force a secret an impossibility? If there is, what could it be? All of those that have spoken about Solar Warden say the same thing. This is a group of nations working together to protect the Earth, form alliances with intelligent civilizations in outer space. This I see as a positive and the beginnings of a future like Gene Roddenberry envisioned, so the using of the symbol for the new Space Force may actually be quite fitting. What are your thoughts on this secret space program? Did Gary McKinnon uncover a space-based military wing back in the 80s? Will the future be something like what is seen in the Star Trek universe? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, if you like what I do here on the channel, hit that red button like and share. You can catch the latest by searching We Are If. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.